To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the WDW Fanboys Podcast.
Hello.
I'm Jonathan Hopkins. I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Brett Bennett and Spencer Coleman.
Hello.
And today is November 24th, and this will be episode 193. Our show is sponsored by Pixie Vacations. Pixie Vacations is an authorized Disney travel agent. They offer fee-free bookings to Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Lines, and Adventures by Disney. You can find links to their site on our homepage, or you can give them a call directly at 678-815-1584.
Yay.
Yay. Yes. So, got a couple things to talk about. First thing I want to mention is we are trying a new setup. Last week we did a Skype where Brett was on Skype, I was on Skype, and Spencer was on Skype.
We were all on Skype.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know why I did that, but
We like sounding like we're in tin cans.
yes. Anyways, apparently people like the volume of that voice or sound better. I bought 2 more mics, so we have a total of 3.
Combined, they look like they're blue mics, so they look like blue balls.
No.
They don't. They do. They're round.
I think so.
Like orbs.
All right.
With the other one.
Big silver blue balls.
Anyways, so let us know how the sound sounds. We're gonna try this out and see if this works out. If not, we'll try other things.
Ooh, yeah.
Anyways,
How many times are you gonna have to listen to that?
yeah. Trying again. So, as many of you probably already know, this week, Tuesday, November 19th, Diane Disney Miller, the last surviving member of the immediate Disney family, had passed away. There's a great article that Kevin Yee wrote from Ultimate Orlando, and I'm just going to read that because it's pretty much sums up how I feel, at least. And then we'll kind of talk about different things and whatnot. All right. Diane Disney Miller, dead at 79, the last direct family tie to Walt Disney. Why does Diane Disney Miller matter? Because she was the last direct tie to Walt. She was one of the 2 daughters, Sharon, who was adopted and died in 1993, and Diane was the final person of the immediate family of 4, Walt, Lily, Diane, and Sharon, to make it this far. Diane was there for the Walt Disney Family Museum, a somewhat new creation in San Francisco, and she was intimately involved. It's been Diane who guided so much inquiry into Walt's life for the past 20 years since her sister passed and almost as long as her mother's death. Lily Disney was occasional visitor of Disneyland, but a few months before she passed away, what turned out to be her final visit to Disneyland was characterized by sadness and grief. She was supposed to come to address the crowds, but she couldn't leave the Disney apartment above the firehouse. Reportedly, she shed a quiet tear and simply said, "I miss Walt." She couldn't go on stage, and that was that. I have long been fascinated by this ultimate human and extraordinarily personal moment. Lily managed to avoid any descent into caricature with this statement. In the end, it was the family that mattered and not the show, and Walt Disney would have approved. Diane is the last part of that family, and now the final member of that inner circle of Disney relatives has finally slipped the Surrey bonds of earth. She mattered because she was Walt's daughter, and that was enough. The Disney product and the Disney brand have always been about family. Diane was Walt's family and the last of Walt's family. There are second-generation relatives, but they have been less directly involved with the company or anything with his life. This logic makes sense. Diane was integral to Disney. What we think of as Disney was defined by family, and she was that. We will miss Diane. Life goes on, but we are poor for her loss. So, yeah, that was when I read it, that was probably the best way to describe how I was feeling. Yeah, she wasn't really involved with the company often, but and that's kind of where we'll segue into my little thing about saving Mr. Banks and how they're going to portray Walt in that. But basically, she she kept the memory of Walt as a person alive and opened up the museum and everything else and pretty much ran it and kind of told the whole story about the man, what he represented. And I guess that's where I kind of get upset with Disney World. I haven't been to Disneyland, so I don't know how they handle Walt and his presence and everything. But it seems like Walt Disney World, they've kind of lost the fact that the whole freaking reason that it's there is because, Roy loved his brother and wanted to finish it.
It's because of Walt.
Yeah.
And you read the numerous books that are out there, and every single one of them will mention how this was Walt's dream. The planning, the preparation were all started by Walt and assisted by many others.
Yeah.
But it was his baby, and when he died, Roy made it a point to make sure that this was completed. Even Epcot, while Epcot is not completely like Walt's dream,
yeah.
it's still a product. It is still something that exists. It is still somewhat based on.
I think of more of it as the old version of Epcot Center. I think of more as a tribute.
Yeah.
To Walt
Right.
than anything else. And the simple fact is they didn't know what to call it. And Roy was like, we call it Walt Disney World. But, so that's kind of what upsets me is the company uses Walt more as a sponsor of anything. They've forgotten the true core of what he created, why he even created it. Hell, Diane and Sharon were the reason he created Disneyland, so he could have a place for his kids to go.
It bothers me as well because it's not as if visitors like us are expecting them to acknowledge Walt on a daily basis, have a 20-minute monologue praising him, and kiss the feet of his statue every morning before the park opens. We just would like them to remember he was the one who started it all.
Yeah.
And you don't need to remove Walt from certain things.
2 things. The beginning of any Disney movie, it should always say Walt Disney Pictures, not just Disney Pictures. 2, trash in the parks. Walt, the reason Disneyland was created is because Griffin Park was a hot mess. He wanted an uber clean place. When I remember going to Walt Disney World as a kid, it was eerily clean, and, you dropped something, and within minutes, someone was picking it up. Not anymore. So it's the whole thing of, we'll use his name, but we won't use his principles anymore. We just decline and do whatever's cheap. And that's kind of where I get upset with the Walt Disney Company.
It's almost they feel that, we're big enough now, so we no longer need to really completely acknowledge Walt. Because even if we take the name away and just use Disney, which is the name everybody knows, Disney, then it's not going to affect us. Which, granted, I can understand that. But the way I look at it is, I can understand the trash. I don't believe it's acceptable, but I can understand that on occasion you'll see trash here and there. I believe it's something that can be rectified very simply. But something like removing Walt from Walt Disney Pictures or Walt Disney Company, what is the purpose of that? Why do you feel the need to remove Walt? What is the benefit of removing Walt?
They gave the excuse because so many people are watching their movies on mobile devices, it's easier to read just Disney than Walt Disney. So 4 extra letters takes up way too much screen space, apparently.
Disney needs to understand that society today is a lot quicker to call BS on ridiculous excuses and responses to things like that. Because something like that, there's no reason for it. And it makes those of us that remember Walt, that are fond of what Walt accomplished, happier when his name is being used in everything that represents him.
And also, real quick, I kind of took offense a little bit to the comment that nobody cares about the trash in the park anymore. That sentiment applies to probably about less than 5% of the management at Disney World. And 95% of the people, having worked in custodial myself, about 95% of the people that I knew there loved their job and would do it every day for making the park a cleaner and better place for all kids to go to. And there was probably less than 5% of people that didn't want to be doing that. Hell, people I worked with 3 years ago are still doing it because they love it.
Well, okay, granted, I know we have a lot of CMs that listen to the show, and I'm not putting you guys down. I'm just saying that, a couple, last week, I seen trash sitting in Liberty Square, and I sat there for 20 minutes, and nothing was done with it. And there was no management or CMs even around. Like, no one walked past, no janitorial. So it's stuff like that. And then the other thing is, and I know it's stupid, but seeing dust brooms and pans just left anywhere, especially in queue lines, I know it's nitpicking, but if you take the whole general principle of what Disney World and Disneyland is, it's a show. You have something like that, it breaks show. It's just, and I know it's a stupid argument, but this is Disney. This isn't Six Flags or Cedar Point where that stuff gets away with it.
It is nitpicking on a small scale, but the thing is it's still unacceptable.
Yeah.
It's not as if...
But no, believe me, I've had... The problem, when I always complain about CMs, it's the bad CMs. I've had great experiences with a lot of CMs, janitorial, quick service, guest services and that kind of stuff. So I'm not putting down the employees that really do care. It's the bad apples is what I'm talking about, just to clarify.
Right, no, and I understand that, but I believe a lot of that falls on the bad management that they have to leave those, like you said, leave dust pans or whatever in the queue, because as in custodial, we never dealt a lot with queues. Yeah. We changed maybe 1 or 2 trash cans in the queues, but the general upkeep was mainly them. Okay. The attractions themselves. And, it depends. 20 minutes could have been on a lunch break. It just depends. Management and custodial was hardly ever out there. I would see them maybe once or twice a day. So that claims for that. But, you never know.
But, and then going into the whole segue of how Disney kind of alters everything and how it's very sad that Diane's gone to keep the truth around. It was released in the news that in Saving Mr. Banks, Tom Hanks, who is playing Walt Disney, won't be smoking. There's no smoking in the film. You won't see Walt smoking. And I posted on Facebook and kind of got in an argument with people. And then I was reading on a couple other boards, and they're like, "Oh, I'm glad Walt's not smoking." Blah, blah, blah.
He's dead.
It's not the times anymore, and things have changed, and I don't want my children seeing it. Well, I'm sorry. And the thing is, I know Saving Mr. Banks is an entertainment film. Yeah, it's not a documentary.
Completely.
There's going to be a lot of stuff that didn't even really happen or that's made to make the film progress better. I understand that. But the main big thing, Walt was a chain smoker. He died of lung cancer. Did the smoking kill him? Maybe. Maybe it didn't. It didn't help. Yeah.
Whether it was the deciding factor or not, it did definitely contribute.
But the thing I get, it's just why filter all that out? I mean, that was kind of a part of his life. That was a day-to-day thing when, and I guess that was what ticked me off the most was that was the one stipulation Disney company had for the people that produced the movie was Walt cannot be seen smoking. That was such a big deal. And what that rings to me is the Disney company has their image, just like KFC with Colonel Sanders. They don't want their image, their IP, to be, put in a bad light. Walt has to be this great guy that's never done anything wrong. When in reality, Walt had mental breakdowns when he was younger. Walt went communist crazy, during when Dumbo was being made, and that's why his brother had to ship him off to South America. Walt was not perfect, but that's what made Walt a genius as far as creating things. It's the chaos, you kind of have to live with it. Right. And the fact that he was a chain smoker, it's a terrible habit. I mean, we probably would have had him longer if he didn't smoke. But that was a part of his life. And I guess that's my argument of why I think it's stupid that they cut it out. It didn't need to be where he was like, lighting a bong or anything like that. But I mean, it was one of those little things. And I may be stupid, I may be way off base, but that's just kind of how I feel with it.
You definitely make a good point, because like we've discussed previously outside of the show, most of the really great actors out there, it's because of hardships they've experienced. Comedians, any great comedian will tell you, the more anguish you dealt with growing up, the more issues you have, the more baggage you have, that's what makes you a great comedian. Or
like I said, I didn't mention the other person, but I was talking to a friend of the show, Christy, about it in the parks, and what was funny is we had another person come up and they were like, "Oh, did you see the film?" I was like, "No, we didn't get to see it."
Yeah.
But we told her that that they were cutting out the smoking. She's like, "Well, that's BS."
I was with you for that.
And not on this one.
There was another one.
Oh, yeah, probably,
same thing.
Yeah.
We were walking.
But anyways, we were. Go ahead. I've lost my train of thought.
Okay. So anyway, I can understand some parents saying, "Well, it's a bad influence." The thing is, granted, it's not a documentary; it's for entertainment.
Right.
But if you look at it in that light, superhero movies are doing fantastic right now. Why don't you make Walt able to fly? Why don't you give him the powers of X-Men?
Wow.
Right? I know that's going
that's way off base.
But still, it's granted, it's entertainment, but it's also about his life. It talks about one of the major events of his life, and they're portraying it. Since it's the Disney company, they're portraying it pretty accurately. I can guarantee you that if somebody, have you seen it?
No.
Okay then. So I'm pretty sure.
It was written by two women. They're not Disney biographers. This is not any in which way.
Yeah. This is not a Disney documentary.
It's not a
right. Didn't Disney say that? Like, my point is, didn't Disney say that there's no smoking allowed? Was it Disney that says that?
Yeah. Disney made a rule in 2007.
So my point is that Disney had some influence. So granted, if somebody had some sort of bad experiences with Walt and wanted to put in some of those bad experiences, maybe arguments, discussions they had, that I'm sure wouldn't have made Disney happy, because Disney does not like negative things like that about Walt. Now, granted, we all know that what Walt was like when, if you've read his books.
Well, he didn't write any books, but...
what is it?
He didn't write any books, but people have written books about him.
No, but if you've read the books about Walt, you know that when he was starting, there are times where, for financial reasons, he wasn't able to pay certain people back, and there are plenty of times that he didn't have the money he thought he was going to have to keep going. And whether it be through a new movie or some other event, he wound up coming up with that money. I don't know if he paid everybody back that he owed money to. The bottom line is Walt wasn't 100% perfect in the business world. So, of course, there's no movie that can be legitimately 100% perfect if they're talking about Walt. In this case, back to the point, granted, there's no reason to have him constantly chain smoking like he did, but to have him smoking on a somewhat regular basis throughout the movie would have been a more accurate portrayal of Walt. Now, I can understand the parents saying, well, I don't want my kid to grow up and smoke. Well, then if you're going to react that way because it was in a movie, you probably should keep your kid home and sheltered, because there's going to be things in every movie you may not want your kid emulating growing up. And in this case, I'm going to put it on the parents who say, I'm glad there's no smoking in the movie because I don't want my kid to do that. Why don't you try teaching your kids that it's not good to smoke? Why don't you try explaining to them what one of the reasons were that contributed to Walt's death? It may not have been the reason, but like you said, it didn't help, and I can assure you it contributed to the fact that he died of cancer. It was the smoking. Explain to them that Walt could have been around.
We're not all doctors, so we can't.
I play one on TV, so I do know.
You know, but that's fine.
But still, I think that pretty much anybody can say, whether they're a doctor or not, that the smoking that much definitely didn't help. and in some way, shape, or form, large or small, contributed to him having cancer. Whether he could have lived another month, 6 months, another 10 years, we don't know.
People get cancer all the time without smoking.
Sure, and people drop dead running down the beach that are completely healthy. You just never know when somebody's going to die. But in this case, I really don't think it helped. And again, I don't think it was the deciding factor. But the bottom line is that parents need to teach their kids something like this. That the reason you shouldn't smoke is because it very well can contribute to different types of cancer. It can contribute to you dying early. Now, that's another thing. You have a relative. I have a relative. My father's mother. She lived to be 93. She used to smoke. I think when she died, of course, she wasn't smoking. She was in the hospital. But I think up until the time where she was able to smoke, she was smoking at least a carton a week. And 2-pack-a-day habit was very common when I was growing up with her. She lived to be 93. And again, she was in the hospital for a good 6 months without smoking before she died. Who knows? Maybe if she stayed, if she didn't have to go into the hospital, she went to the hospital because she tripped and fell. But if she didn't have to go into the hospital and she was able to remain smoking, whether that would have kept her alive longer or not. I used to say that the tar nicotine is what held her together. Mm-hmm. But you just don't know. Yeah. None of us know. But, you get healthy people dying at a moment's notice jogging down the beach.
Yeah. So. Right. So that's my whole thing. I think they should have had it in there. We know that Disney will never ever allow anyone to make a actual documentary on Walt's life without thoroughly scrubbing it of any kind of accuracy and anything else.
They could have left it in without glorifying it. That's all.
Yeah. But my little rant, whatever. Other news, the three of us were able to go to, pronounce it for me, someone.
IAAPA.
IAAPA, yes.
International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions.
Yes.
The Attractions Expo that they held at the Orange County Convention Center this past week.
Yes.
Very exciting.
We were able to get press passes, surprisingly. Yes.
Yeah, they were so cool.
Yes.
But, very exciting event if you've never heard of it. It's this huge, takes up 2 wings of the Orange County Convention Center. Vendors from all over the world. Like, seriously, like
really, China, which we'll comment on.
China and Japan. And countries that don't speak English send their people out. Yeah, and countries that use Google Translate to make their signs, which are hilarious.
Yes. Yes. But all your base belong to us.
Basically.
What was the last one we saw?
Chocolate don't touch my.
Oh yeah.
Something like chocolate don't touch my was on a sign.
Yeah, chocolate was a big word, and then don't touch my underneath.
Was underneath it.
Yeah. First thing, I'm not sure. I only was able to go the one day. These guys were able to go 3 days. Yes. So if we go a little bit longer, this actually might get cut up and put into 2 parts. Because also too, next weekend will be, next Thursday is Thanksgiving, which, by the way, happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Sure.
Thanksgiving. So I will be with family on Thanksgiving, and Brett will be out of town. And I have family in Tampa.
Whoa.
Cousin.
Yeah, I got a cousin. So this will probably be most likely. Part of it will be episode 194.
Approximately 15 minutes.
Yes. Who knows?
Who knows?
We'll see. But anyways, one thing I just want to say, for everyone getting excited about this trade show and whatnot, if you've never been to it or whatever, keep in mind though it's a trade show. It's not
an amusement park.
Yeah, it's not for fans. Huge fans. It's really for a lot of nerdy people and everything else. But it's business oriented, so you kind of gotta. It's like what $200 and something if you just want to go as a non-buyer or anything like that.
Non-member buyer,
Yeah. So we were very lucky to get press passes and just kind of be able to walk around and do different things.
Yep.
Let's kind of go with day one.
Day one, Wednesday.
Yes.
Woke up bright and early, got to the convention center. Went straight to press office. I already had my contact over there, so they hooked us up real nice.
Yeah.
And they gave us the guidebook for the whole week. And it was, does anybody have one here?
No,
It is literally a book, a
Yeah.
paperback book that's like Bible thin pages.
Yeah.
And it's huge. And it just has all
Tons
the
of
guys,
stuff
all
going on.
all the companies.
it was made by the Gideons.
Yep, that's it. Yep. And then the map was larger than your regular road map. I couldn't even see
I saw the first time guy using it today,
Today.
and I'm thinking,
Yeah.
why didn't he just download the app?
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, it was crazy.
Which they still have the 2012 app, just in case you want to go
Just in
back in
case.
time.
You just want to reminisce.
yeah, app wasn't too great, but it was all right. Give me what I need to know.
Yeah.
Hey,
But yeah, so
I found all of my favorite places instantly.
but we got in
Lemonade stand,
show.
mini
Yeah,
donuts.
yeah. The show floor
Pizza.
opened at 10 o'clock, and that's where we spent probably about 95% of our time.
Yeah.
And just you went down to the first floor, and then as soon as you can see through the doors, it's just like carnival lights everywhere.
Oh yeah. Well, they had actual
From, like-
full-sized attraction rides.
Yeah, they had full-size carnival
there.
fair rides in there. A few of them. And inside.
We'll be posting pictures and videos soon.
Yes.
One of the things I seen, they had the full coaster car from the new Cedar Point ride that they have. I don't want to say it's Falcon's Fury.
That's
but-
Fury.
Is it?
Yes.
And Dollywood has the same attraction too, but they call it
Ooh.
something else. But that was
Dolly's Fury.
BMG, was
I
it?
remember.
But they had all the big name roller coaster companies,
Anyone you can
Idiom,
imagine.
and the flat ride companies like Hess. Funny thing is, like,
Imagineering was there.
yeah, a lot of the roller coaster companies are either German or
Yep.
Swedish or something, or
So,
or the ride manufacturers, and then a lot of Japanese. Almost like all the gaming companies seem to be Japanese or Chinese.
Because I'd say at least a good quarter of it was arcade games.
Yep.
And for anywhere, amusement parks, arcades, or whatnot, and you could just go and play them. But you had to be very careful, because if you weren't careful and you chose one that was in the Korea Pavilion, they'd come up and start talking to you and hand you all kind of booklets, and you couldn't really tell them no.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they're not gonna understand you. Oh yeah, it happened. But it's crazy. Anything you can imagine. Every single company that would make anything for theme parks.
Oh yeah.
Lemonade stands,
Turnstiles.
Ticket media.
Yeah. Fast pass type
Cash
system.
point
Ride
machines.
wheels,
Yeah.
locker systems, gates. I
Yeah.
mean, you couldn't go down
Plastic cups.
Yep.
Right,
Yeah.
right. It was just
Stuffed
ridiculous.
If it goes into a
Yeah.
theme park, it was there.
Basically.
Yeah.
If you wanted to build a theme park from the ground up, you could
That's
go
where
through the
you'd go,
convention
yeah.
and get pretty much everything
Yeah.
you needed for a contact.
They had a double-decker carousel set up inside. Brett posted a photo
Oh,
on
yeah.
Facebook.
They're shipping ours to Fanboy headquarters
Yes.
now.
Well, we blew our money on that and the fireworks, the pyrotechnic budget.
Yep. We had a little bit left over for the greaseless fryer,
Yes.
which is a big hit. We were
Yeah.
in that line repeatedly.
So go to Amazon. Use our links.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can get it
Yes.
if you spend $1 million on Amazon,
Yes.
We get the fryer.
we'll get the double decker
Carousel.
carousel and
Yes.
let you ride on it
Yes.
with us.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Anytime you come
Invite
to
you over.
visit,
We're not paying for your
Yes.
airfare, though.
Yes.
but you can ride it as many times as you want. Bring your family, bring your friends.
Not valid outside the continental United States, including Hawaii and Alaska.
Oh.
The one game that I was familiar with, just never saw it in an actual game, which I thought was fantastic because it's going to help young kids when they get into
Yes.
college.
Yes.
Was they actually had a beer pong game.
Oh,
And
Arcade game.
Arcade game. It was set up in a pyramid, all these plastic cups,
Yep.
and you bounce
Or
the ping pong ball in this round circle area, and you see if you can get it into
Yep.
the different cups. And then when you get it in a cup, it lights up or the light goes out. But either way, it's
Yeah, the light goes
the
out.
point of the game is to get one in every cup under a certain amount of time
And a certain amount of balls.
using a certain amount of balls. So when I first saw this, I'm thinking this is going to be an outstanding way for kids to learn the basic skills they need to survive at frat houses. Spencer and I were playing it today, and there was this lady in front of us, and she's
Horrible.
she was horrible. So, of course, when she was done, I said, well, I'm guessing you actually did well in college. It took her a second, but she did get it.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Yeah, my game malfunctioned when me and Brett were playing. Not a joke. We were both down to 2 cups, and one of my cups, I had a ball right in it, and the light did not go out, and I was very upset. But then the second
that's what the loser says.
Nope, not true.
You didn't lose.
Somebody should have videotaped it because they would have seen I would have won.
Well, someone was too busy winning.
Yes.
You should have been videotaping it, Spencer.
Oh, sorry. But yeah.
So how many times did you reach into the fishbowl, get a key, and try the lock?
Probably about 3 times.
3 times.
You might want to explain
First
this
time
to
I
people.
won. Yes. Actually, one of the booths.
One of the booths
was a small booth. Couple guys there, nice guys.
Yep.
They had they were locks. It was just locks.
Yes.
So
Padlocks.
Padlocks. Spencer had gone the day before and was telling me about these guys. And
They're
so
super nice guys. They instead of talk to me for like 20 minutes, just like, oh, hey, how's it going?
You know, today was the day to do that sort of thing because everybody's winding down.
Yeah.
You know, the Wednesday and Thursday was crazy.
Yeah.
But today everybody's winding down. Everybody's pretty relaxed. Everybody's pretty much giving away stuff.
Pretty much.
And we got a ton of little stuffed animals from all the different games. But we're walking by and he's like, oh, they're the lock guys. So we go over and I'm looking. There's a lock there. And there's a huge bowl of keys. And you reach in, you grab a key, you try the lock. If the lock works, then you win a lock.
Ooh.
So Spencer's saying how, I tried this a couple times, didn't work for me. So, of course, I reach in. First key I grab out, what happens? It works.
That was the key I was going to grab, too.
And Spencer's not used to losing. So, for me, it's a little bit more enjoyable when he actually loses in situations like that. So, of course, I had to rub it in even more.
Technically, no, lose.
It was so much better when you explained it when Brett came home to the apartment and I was like, why the hell you got a lock? He's like, oh, this is a great story.
Whatever, they gave me one anyways because we're best friends.
Yeah, I earned mine.
I went over there before we left and I was like, yeah, guys, I'm leaving. They're like, oh, here's a lock.
I got to get a lock before I leave.
Put on my
I
chest.
will leave a crushed human being.
Yeah.
I got to see it. I didn't get to see Garner Holt, but we got to go to
I said hi for all of us.
To the Garner Holt pavilion booth that they had. They had some they had a raptor there, this animatronic that looked like Johnny Five, and then they had their one that is a unicycle dude, but it's an animatronic. It's
how does it work? I don't know.
I have another picture that I'll be posting. I went back to Garner Holt and took a picture from a distance.
Yeah.
And you can see him in the bottom left corner of the picture looking at me.
Oh.
He's eyeballing me, taking a picture. I don't know if he either recognizes me or he's just eyeballing me, snapping the picture. But anyways, you'll see him.
Garner Holt?
Garner Holt.
Oh. Probably called security on you.
Yeah.
Get that guy.
I was going to say, but yeah, no. Speaking of Garner Holt, anybody that you can imagine that makes things for Disney was there. Garner Holt, which does pretty much all of the animatronics now, they had a very cool slideshow of different animatronics from The Little Mermaid ride, Monsters Inc. They had one picture of them making a Figment.
Yeah.
What's her name? Maleficent from Fantasmic they had making there. Of course, they didn't have any actual animatronics or anything related to Disney.
Yeah.
But the slideshows were very cool to see. They made all, the actual robots, animatronics for Little Mermaid. And then a company a few booths down did all the stationary statuettes that spin around and whatnot, under the sea. And they made all those, so they had pictures up of that, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, it was interesting that they had that kind of stuff up, but they're not as high profile as Garner Holt.
Right. So,
I mean, Garner Holt's actually been announced by Disney that they're like, yeah, these are the guys that make all our animatronics.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. But, what else? I mean, I saw a bunch of things that were Disney. Randomly walking around, I saw people that make inner tubes, and they had a tube up that they made for Disney for a crushing gusher at Typhoon Lagoon. So I got a picture of that. We're looking around, and there was this one. It's called Chili Ribbons. It's like shaved ice into ribbons, and they were the ones that did the ones for the China Pavilion at Food and Wine. And it's just like all these people make stuff for Disney. You wouldn't know it, and you come here, and then you just see everybody.
And inflatables outside, they had just a ton of inflatable bouncy castle type things, but it's moved way beyond just bouncy castles, man. Yeah, like there's zip lines.
Bouncy castles.
Well, zip lines aren't inflatable, but they had obstacle courses.
No, they did have a zip line inflatable.
Yep.
Me and Hopkins went on it.
Yeah,
Really?
me and him went out.
Yeah.
Yep.
How does it hold up the zip line?
Yeah, it just does.
Wow,
Magic.
That's impressive.
No, it's not a very long one, but
okay.
Disney
Still,
magic.
That's impressive.
yeah, that's pretty interesting.
It was funny when me and Spencer went up there. Spencer's like, "What's the weight for this thing rated for?" He's like, 250.
Yeah, 6 pounds.
He was like, it'll hold you. And I was like, what is it? And he said, 250. Like, all right. And like, before we're leaving, I'm like dragging the bar.
Yeah, I did too.
Because we're sitting down in the rope, and it's like, it's at the top of what would be like a bouncy slide, because if you like wuss out, you can just bounce down the slide.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like dragging the bottom. Like, he puts me in the harness, I sit down, and I just sit on the bounce house thing. I was like,
butt is all cheap.
I'm waiting for that. I was waiting for that cable to snap and whip me in the back of the neck and kill me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But no, me and Brett went on. We also had a couple zip lines set up outside as well. Me and Brett did that a couple times today. Got some video of that. We'll be putting
That was
on.
fun.
Yeah, very cool. No,
One of the big
zip
things
line-
now they have the towers that it's this
Portable.
winding stairway where
Yeah.
you just go up and then you jump off
Yeah.
and right into the inflatable airbag,
Oh, yeah.
which
like
that's
the blob
pretty
type
cool.
Thing. Yeah.
because it's
I did that once.
cool.
Yesterday.
You can be like the fall guy.
Yeah,
Anyone remember that show?
I remember.
Yeah.
Heather Thomas, is that her
Mm.
name?
I don't know, but it was
Lee
pretty
Majors?
Very-
Jinx. I'll make up.
the girl, the bikini.
Yeah.
You get nervous right before you do, and then when you jump, it's just like lost
Yeah.
like a second and a half, and then
Yeah.
you're like, poof.
Uh,
And then you freak out trying to get out of the blob.
Yeah.
It's like- I started just like death rolling out. But
I saw Lethal Weapon where he fell in the pool in one of these things and he died, suffocated.
oh, but yeah, very cool stuff.
Oh.
Lots of food vendors as well. The line for pizza was about 50 people long consistently, because they had one company that makes gas station pizzas, well, Noble Roman or something like that.
Well, they actually, I'm pretty sure that was what they intended to do, was
Right.
just feed everybody, because everybody was going there
Yeah.
repeatedly. They weren't. It's obvious they were trying to sell something, but they weren't like some of the other people that would come up to you and what do you do and what are you here for, and nobody was
sheesh, yeah.
nobody that I've talked to was mean about it. I mean, they would ask questions and then I would answer them, and some of them, as I'd answer them, they'd be a little hesitant in the way that they would remind me that they're not trying to pressure me or anything.
Yeah.
And I would just, told them no problem at all, because today I wore my Player One Video Game Lounge T-shirt, so I looked like I might be representing
A company.
a company. And as they're asking me questions, I'm answering them like I actually knew what I was talking about. And some of them seemed to get a little hesitant because they didn't want me to feel like they were pressuring me. But the place selling the pizza, they had different setups for gas stations, convenience stores, the warming trays for breakfast sandwiches, things like that. But they were just making pizzas, cutting them, and serving them, and that was it. It was just cranking them out like a
I want to
factory.
know how many pizzas they made.
They didn't seem to be annoyed. They didn't seem to be upset that people were only
Probably
getting the
also
pizza for
could have
pizza.
It probably is also good for them showcasing how fast those things can crank them out too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But never did they. Here, take our card. Here,
never.
let us know what your needs are for pizza and foods. They were just cranking out the pizzas, feeding everybody there.
I love trade shows where anything that's free that's always has a line.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? I'm just trying to figure out. I'm thinking they went through at least one pizza almost every minute.
Oh, easy.
And so, I mean, if you think about that, there's 8 hours in just 3 days. I'm thinking they went over 2,000 pizzas.
Oh yeah,
Jesus.
I wouldn't be surprised.
No doubt in my mind.
Another thing I want to get is the cotton candy machine that
Yes.
makes the cotton candy vending machine.
Yep.
That was the
Just
coolest
sugar.
thing.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's sugar in the stick.
Yeah.
You press a button, you insert your money. Press a button, the stick drops down to a thing, and then a robot arm takes it, put it right down into the cotton candy maker,
Yeah.
sits there for a minute, it comes back out, you got cotton candy.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was looking inside. It's kind of got some rollers that will agitate it to get it
Yeah.
on the stick started,
Right.
and then it just kind of corkscrews it on there.
Yep.
I was like,
Yep.
I want that.
Any
That was
kind of
impressive. Yeah.
vending machines as well. They had other kind of vending machines, everything.
We
man.
seen a fountain that had fire shooting out
Yes.
of it.
Yes.
a water jet
Yes.
that would shoot straight up and
That
there
was,
was fire on the top.
Actually, gasoline.
No, water.
Oh,
And it was funny
Like
because
propane.
Yeah.
I walked up there after it finished the little demonstration. I said, "Make it catch on fire again." They
Yeah.
said, "Well, actually, they limit our gas usage in here, so
Yeah.
I can't really do it."
all
Which-
this food in here.
Uh,
Limited gas.
well,
usage.
we were. Was it me and you, Spencer? We were talking about. We were wondering how much electricity this thing
Yeah.
uses.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was.
Because I'm thinking $200,000 a day.
Day.
Yeah. I mean,
Which is
just
crazy.
everything going at once.
Because they had huge setup for lights, like multiple lighting companies.
Oh,
It was like every kind of light you can imagine. Those lights that go on carnival rides that are the blinking multi-color lights, high-powered.
What was the name
lamps.
of the attraction, the ride that we went on today?
I have no idea.
That spun us upside down.
Yeah.
That alone, the lights on that thing were intense.
Very
Never
cool.
mind the power it must have taken to work that.
We'll post the video, any kind of videos and that kind of stuff. We'll pile it together and throw it up on
I've
YouTube.
got a video that, I forget the name of the ride, but I've got an actual video of the ride from the outside, and then the next day, today, we went on it, and I took a video while we were going around.
Which I started watching it and kind of got sick from it because
Yeah.
spinners freak me out. They get me.
And I don't understand because the zip line that we went on outside, me and Brett, it won the award for like the best like attraction or something best thing at IAAPA this year. And I was like,
Well,
zip line, which is everywhere compared to this thing.
Yeah.
Honestly, if there was an instant release on that zip line, so you just drop on somebody, then it would have gotten my vote.
But you got to think of it from a tech business aspect. It might have won because it's a newer type of product that's travelable. Because most zip line installations, you have to have a structure built. Yeah. Or like at Gatorland, how they have actual towers and everything set up. So this thing's it's small. I mean, it's just one line, but it's compact. It fits on one semi-flatbed, you know.
Right. They probably already have that broken down, whereas the actual ride attraction, that thing's going to take a while.
Yeah,
I bet you that thing, the way it looked like it could just fold up and then the sides would fold in.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was going to say, there was a full ropes course, 2 or 3 stories tall.
Yeah.
And just a full thing that had to take forever to put together and to take apart. It was just ridiculous in size.
The one thing I noticed about a lot of the things there, a lot of the actual...
If you like models, I love the booths that had models of
the booth babes. We love models.
that they built.
Oh.
No.
Build a model.
Yeah, that's right.
Babes.
That's right. We were walking past and I told Spencer, I was like, I love models. And he's like, what? I was like, little miniature models.
There's only like one girl at that right there.
Not
I
what I meant.
Model quality.
But like the thing, like the jungle gyms and the inflatable, a lot of the inflatables, the way I looked at it is somebody who was very wealthy that had a setup for their kids in the backyard would be interested in making an impulse purchase at one of these events.
Oh,
but
so much of the stuff sold there. On
Oh,
the
yeah.
spot. Like, never take off.
Oh, yeah.
Even on Wednesday when we went, like almost there was a ton of inflatables that are like sold.
Like one of the biggest ones we saw was this Wipeout inspired one that you have to fill with water. He said it took so much water to fill it. Like the guy that was trying to sell it to us was telling us, "Oh my God, we had to put so much water in this thing. It took forever."
Yeah.
Like, don't tell me that.
Yeah,
He's like,
yeah.
then you want a magazine too?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
And if that thing split, if a seam split in there, the damage it would have done.
And then he was like, oh, but he said, but we're coming out. Our new model is mostly air in the bottom, and then a smaller layer of water.
Yeah.
But the one he sold was the one you have to fill with water.
Yeah.
What about if somebody takes a crap in that water? What do you have to do to get it out?
Yeah.
I need to know these things, and he didn't tell me.
That's the thing too. That's the one thing I was wondering. I was like, how they cycle the water through, because it can't be just a fill up and go.
No.
You know,
You have to have like chlorine tablets.
Oh yeah. Which is going to degrade the plastic,
Yeah.
you know, unless that liner is made like a pole liner.
Yeah.
Me and Brett went on a water, what do you call it?
It was an inflatable obstacle course, toxic something,
waste or something
and
like that.
halfway through, the previous day's light rain had accumulated throughout. I mean, it wasn't like in a pool. The pool wasn't until the end, but we're trying to make it through the course, and all of a sudden it's
like we fall
soaking
down,
wet.
and then
and
he's wearing socks.
I'm wearing socks. Well, there was this one point where there was actual steps to climb up to get to the slide to finish the attraction. Yeah. Spencer couldn't get up because he's in bare feet. He's slipping all over the place because it's soaking wet. And he's getting more wet. And then, of course, as I'm going down, I had to like spring over the river into the basement, or I would have completely soaked. Luckily, when I landed on the concrete, it didn't scrape up my hands. But that was pretty amusing.
Yeah.
And then
and I almost slipped when I got out onto the tarp because it was full with water.
Yep. And the corn maze from across it, the model's telling us about how a guy got lost in it the day before. I'm like, how do you get lost in this?
Yeah, seriously.
You almost navigated blind.
Yeah.
No offense to our blind listeners. But
that was Miss Eye Candy blow-ups.
Yeah. But one thing that was funny was as we're walking around, just roaming around the last couple hours of the trade show, there was this small wrestling ring.
Yes.
It was actually, it wasn't just a model wrestling, it was actual wrestling ring for kids.
Children.
And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, first I'm thinking it's a model, and then when Spence pointed out it's actually for kids, then as we got closer, it was a company that's based in Shanghai that they had a lot of kiddie toys and attractions. And this ring was actually for kiddie things. So, of course, first thing comes to mind is I'm going to go up and ask them if they have an actual betting system that comes with the kiddie wrestling ring. So when I get up there, we're looking at it, and they all jump up. And they seem to be extremely confused. They didn't know what to do or how to react to us. And
He didn't even say anything yet.
I didn't say anything. I hadn't said anything. They just and they're all confused. So now when I realize they're very confused, I figured let me wait before I spring something even more confusing on them.
Right.
Well, then they're trying to talk to me, but none of them spoke English.
Like
nothing, zero.
Nope.
And they're looking at each other like somebody magically learned English in the last 5 minutes. So I'm trying to let them know that it's okay, because now it looks like they're looking at me like I may be a potential buyer, and they're freaking out because they might lose a sale here.
I think Brett even use simple words like very good, very cool,
and hello,
awesome.
and excellent, and very cool, and very good. And finally they're looking at each other and they see a business card. They grab a business card. They gave it to me. I said, "Oh, thank you very much." And
they said, "Yo, Orlando,
you
buy?
Yeah.
You buy?" I think that's what they said.
Yeah, pretty much. And then when
you should have had Michelle Yee with you to translate.
Oh, that's racist.
What?
So, anyways, when we finally were walking away, and again, it looked like they're looking for
Kevin for the German pavilions because he knows German.
Does he? Well, actually, Ron would have come in handy there.
Yeah, Ron too.
But Ron would actually like that. What is it?
Nothing.
What
Made an off-color joke.
I missed it. So, anyways, it was funny because as we're walking away, they're looking for a last-ditch effort to talk with us and explain to us what it is they offered. And I see a box of donuts on the table. I thought they were going to grab the donuts and offer us one. But I found that amusing that there they are in a predominantly English-speaking trade show without anyone, even a translator, that spoke English. So.
Looking through notes that I had written for the show, I wrote a couple notes, and I totally forgot that when me and Hopkins went to Garner Holt the first day, we talked to what's his name, Javier.
You got his business card.
Yeah, hold on, let me grab it. Jeez, I don't know how I forgot his name. I was thinking of it all earlier. Nope, that's Chili Ribbons. That's Javier Soto, who you might recognize the name because he's done some things like custom vinilations for Disney and stuff for Disney Design Group.
Really cool guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we're trying to question a few things from him. We're talking about all the Disney animatronics. It seemed at first he didn't want to talk about the Disney stuff. Then he kind of opened up and realized that we wanted to talk about it. And you could talk about Haunted Mansion Holiday and whatnot. And I asked him because I saw a Figment in the slideshow, and I assumed it was just for the current ride. I asked him, are we going to see any more of our purple little dragon friend? Maybe they're making new things. And he was like, no, not anything I know of.
Yeah.
And he was like, but we're trying to convince Disney to make a Haunted Mansion animatronic for their anniversary next year. And he said,
not the Hatbox
Ghost. Hopkins asked that. Yeah. And he said no. And he said, but there was other characters that weren't used, I believe is the words he said. Yeah. That there were other characters that weren't used. And he said, that's your only hint. That's all you get.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that pans out. Yeah. Also,
one thing I will say, everybody that I spoke to, everybody that I talked to, was extremely nice there.
Yeah.
They were all very professional, very nice, easy to deal with.
Yep. I was going to say, on the first day we got to, Hopkins had to leave, but me and Brett got to go to a special session.
Because I had to work. Take a shot.
With Marty Sklar, Jack Lindquist, and
Lee Cockrell.
Yeah, Lee Cockrell. And beforehand, me and Brett got to go for a few minutes since we had press passes, and the three Disney guys were out there just sitting down, let us come up and ask some questions. Yeah. And I've already gotten backlash from this. I don't know how, because nobody's even heard anything about this. Well, other than I posted a photo saying I got to ask him a question about Dreamfinder, but I'm already getting backlash from multiple people saying, why would you ask Marty Sklar about the Dreamfinder? You don't even know what I asked him about the Dreamfinder.
But we all know what you would ask him, so everybody's just assuming.
No, and from what they make it sound like, they think that I'm asking him, how did you make the Dreamfinder? Which is not what I asked him at all.
No.
If I was going to ask anybody, I'd ask Tony Baxter that. I asked if we would ever see the Dreamfinder again. Because if anybody would know, it'd be the international liaison for Imagineering.
Pretty much.
Who's pretty much the head of Imagineering.
That, though.
Hi, Spencer. How are you?
Very nice to meet you.
Thank you.
I know I missed the press event, but there's just one question. I know you've been asked it before.
Don't do it.
I know. Are we ever going to see the Dreamfinder again? Do you know?
Oh, I have no idea. I think probably Dreamfinder's career has surpassed.
What do you think about the current Journey into Imagination Pavilion?
Oh, it's much better than the second edition we did.
Very much so. But
it's not the same as the first.
Of course.
And that was, we really didn't want to get rid of it, but Kodak wanted a new show. Unfortunately, we didn't do as well as we did the first time. That happens. And those were great characters. And, of course, Figment was immortalized by the Sherman brothers, so they're wonderful characters. And in the Disney world, the characters are so much a part of telling the story. Yes, sir.
When we can, we're going to go ahead.
thank you so much.
Sure.
You mind if I grab a photo real quick?
Yes.
Well, it looks like that'll be it for this week's episode. If you have any questions or comments for us, you can send us a message using our Contact Us link on our homepage, or you can send us an email directly at questions@WDWFanboys.com. If you'd like to help us promote the show, every post on our page offers a one-click link to Facebook and Twitter. Just click the links on our site to let your friends know that you enjoy our podcasts and blog posts. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at WDWFanboys, or join our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/WDWFanboys. And while you're at it, head over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel. And remember, if you're shopping on Amazon.com, don't forget to navigate to our Amazon links on our homepage. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but it does help us out because every purchase you make through our links lets us receive a portion of your purchase price, which in turn helps improve show content and helps with running costs. And remember, if you do spend more than $1,000 worth of merchandise in a 12-month period, let us know, and we'll send you a free Fanboys t-shirt. Have a good one. Don't forget to join us again next week.